The way I see it, Raichu farms a lot of ingredients for curries. Entei farms a lot of ingredients for salads. So does that mean Suicune could potentially be a dessert farmer? But of course, today's video is not about Suicune, it is about Entei and its ingredient list and how it completely changes everything about how we look at week 2 of the Entei event. Welcome back to another Pokemon Sleep video, it's Bro Vinny here. Just a quick recap, based on my last video about how to team build for Entei event, I suggested everyone first start looking at the fire Pokemon that they have, and if you could achieve an entire team of fire Pokemon, well, you get to benefit from extra ingredients, extra skill triggers, and even extra skill levels, especially in week 2 of the event, because the skill levels are +3 for any fire Pokemon. But of course, not everyone could complete a team with purely fire Pokemon, either because they just don't have enough good fire Pokemon, or there's just not enough resources to invest. So then you have to compromise. And in another video, you guys saw that Piggy was in one of those situations where a real full fire team wasn't really feasible at that time. So the focus for Piggy was to match favorite berries, which is still going to be a really powerful strategy, especially if the Pokemon has Berry Finding S, and maybe one that you've already invested in prior to the event. But here's the thing about a full fire team. We talked about this last time, is that, well, it's really focused on curry dishes. As a result, the priority, if you can, is to re-roll in week 1 for curries, and hopefully at least have one other favorite matching berry. Then secondarily, you would look at having desserts if you can't roll for curries or you just have limited easy tickets. But for salads, it was the worst because of the lack of ingredients that fire Pokemon can cover. Entei's arrival changes everything about that. In fact, for week 2, just to give you guys the too long didn't read version, it is now no longer a problem to get salad as a dish type, as long as you plan to use Entei. So the ingredients for Entei are oil, tomato, and mushrooms. But just for comparison's sake, let's have a look at why Raichu is actually more of a curry farmer. Raichu's core ingredients are sausages, herbs, and leeks. Now, if we put in sausages, herbs, and leeks, and I really don't like to look at dishes below 25% recipe bonus because they're generally really bad. I like to include 25% or above because we also include tailed curries as well, but it's just an arbitrary number that I chose. So for recipes that have a recipe bonus of 25% or above, which I've filtered for here, minimum recipe bonus in the Rain and X calculator, what you can see is with Raichu's ingredients, leek, herb, and sausages, we could potentially cook 4 different types of curries and 4 different types of salads. Definitely not suited for desserts. But the reason why I gave Raichu the title of a curry farmer is because if you look at the actual ingredients that are being used in curries, in many cases, Raichu itself matches 2 of the ingredients. For example, herbs and sausages in Keema corn curry. Grilled tail curry still matches about 50% of the ingredients for Raichu. In ninja curry, we also match leeks and sausages, but of course leek is level 60, so that hasn't been unlocked yet. And spicy leek curry, again, we're matching 2 of the ingredients, so it matches a lot of the ingredients for curries. On the other hand, yes, it can do salads as well, but have a look at this. Ninja salad, it can only do the leek portion of the recipe. And leek is level 60, so this doesn't even count at this stage of the game. It can do some herbs, but it's only a third of the ingredients of the tailed salad. It can do herbs for ginger salad as well, but it doesn't do the other 2 ingredients. And then it can do sausages for the gluttony potato salad, but it doesn't do the other 3 ingredients. So as you can see, the focus for Raichu, at least at this stage of the game, based on currently known recipes or known strong recipes, is curry. So now let's have a look at Entei. So Entei's 3 ingredients are oil, tomato, and mushrooms. Mushrooms not yet being unlocked. It can cover ingredients from all 3 types of dishes, but let's have a look at which one it tends to cover more of. For curries, it will do tomatoes, for Dream Eater Butter Curry, but otherwise nothing else. For Ninja Curry, it will do mushrooms, but mushrooms not even unlocked yet. And then nothing else, so this doesn't even count, so not a lot of curry. For desserts, it can do oil from Explosion Popcorn, but then miss out on the other 2 ingredients. And it can again do mushroom, but that hasn't been unlocked yet for the restorative tea, so this doesn't even count. Which means it is a main salad farmer because it can do tomato and oil on the strongest salad in the list. Now this one here doesn't really count because it's level 60 mushroom. It can do oils from tailed pepper salad. Understandably, it can't do the other two ingredients, tails or herbs. It can do oils for spore mushroom salad, and eventually at level 60 it can do mushrooms, so this counts. It can do tomatoes for overheat ginger salad, and then it can do 50% of the ingredients for fury attack corn salad. So as you can see, the focus of Entei's ingredients are for salads. In fact, very much focused on the best salad, green grass salad, where it can cover 2 out of the 4 different types of ingredients. As long as you have some way to cover for corn and potato, in actual fact, corn we could potentially get from Ninetales, and then you'll probably need to substitute it also from either ingredient magnet from Charizard, or maybe having a Beware or a Comfey in order for you to get corn. For potato, you will need a non-fire type Pokemon in order to farm, but otherwise we've got fairly good coverage for the green grass salad. Don't forget that Entei's skill itself, Helper Boost, will allow, especially at a high skill level for week 2, will mean that even more of these ingredients will be produced from your Ninetales and the Entei. So it's not a bad idea to roll for salad in the second week if you are going to run an Entei. And I would recommend you guys to run an Entei because you just get to experience what it's like to have a very high main skill level. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone will achieve the highest drowsy power by running Entei, because I don't know what berries you're going to roll for your favorite berries, and I don't know how the rest of your team will perform. Because for Entei's skill to be good, Helper Boost to be good, the rest of your team actually needs to be good to begin with. So if you think the rest of your team kind of sucks to start with, well then maybe you should go back to the original concept of just matching favorite berries instead. Now, between Inferno, Keema Corn Curry, and Green Grass Salad, the curry is still the stronger of the 2 dishes. Even though they have the same recipe bonus, the recipe bonus applies to more of the ingredients because corn curry uses a larger pot size compared to green grass salad. For those of you who don't have a large enough pot size, maybe green grass salad is suitable for you. But for those of you who can actually make Keema Corn Curry without any dramas on the pot size, then Keema Corn Curry still ranks at the top. The main question is whether you can farm enough ingredients for either of the 2 dishes. With green grass salad being a problem on potato, whereas there's no problem at all for any of the ingredients at Keema Corn Curry, except for maybe herbs because of the sheer amount of herbs that you would need in order to cook it every day. But if you roll curry for your second week, then the ingredients from Entei aren't going to be that useful, the tomatoes and the oils. With the only thing that those ingredients matching in curry being in Dream Eater Butter Curry, meaning that hopefully you have a Flareon that can farm some cacao and milk, and then you'll need about 18 potatoes per one of these dishes. But there's really nothing you can do with the oil that you get from Entei besides Drought Katsu Curry, which is a very poor recipe to make with only 11% recipe bonus. What I've neglected to say so far is, well, we could get even more of other ingredients that we were making for curry to start with by using Helper Boost from Entei's main skill, which is the focus of the second part of this video when I make the comparisons for dish making. We'll come back to that in a moment. And so just to clarify, if you haven't already noticed, the first part of this video is about ingredients of Entei, and the second part will be about its skill. Now going back to what can actually be covered with the ingredients from your fire Pokemon, including now Entei. We're going to ignore Helper Boost first. We're just looking at the ingredients from Entei and the rest of the fire team. Then, well, we've already covered Keema Corn Curry before. Herb sausages, corn, and ginger can be farmed by Typhlosion, Charizard, Arcanine, and Ninetales. And right now I'm just comparing the best dishes with 48% recipe bonus. Green Grass Salad can now be covered for by Entei's arrival with oil, tomatoes, And Corn by Ninetales, you just need to have a Victory Bell that has Potato, and hopefully not a Golem, because then your Victory Bell can also do Tomatoes to cover for any missing tomatoes. The real problem is actually getting enough oil, because if your level 30 on your Entei is Tomatoes, well, you're only going to get 1 oil, or rather 2 oil during this event every time an oil drops. So Green Grass Salad is actually still going to be lacking. So you might need like a Toxicroak or something to cover for those oils, or maybe even Ditto. I personally get a lot of oil from my Feraligatr and Wild Rain, so some other berry specialists may be able to help you as well. But unfortunately, the ratio of oil is not going to be great. It's not realistic to cook Carmine fruit salad because you can only cover for the corn out of the 3 ingredients. In desserts, we've really only got milk for the best dish, flour gift macarons, and a severe lack of the other 3 ingredients, with cacao needing 25, Flareon farming only 1 cacao at level 30 or 2 during this event. It's not going to be quite enough. Maybe supplement it by a Nightcap Pikachu if you've got one. Tea time scones. Thankfully for desserts, we've got tea time scones because milk, corn, and ginger can be covered in a decent amount with the right fire team members. You just gotta have like an apple farmer, maybe like a Raichu. A lot of people have said that my first dessert plus Greppa roll was great, would have been great for their accounts because they got Raichu for apples and they could use those apples for desserts. So it just depends on what combination of favorite berries and dish types that you get as well. But as you can see, I think curry is still generally going to be the easier option to make as long as you have the right ratio and the right farmers. With salad and desserts now being both equally second place, just depends on what ingredient farmers that you've got to cover the rest of the dishes. So for second week, I'm actually less concerned about rolling the dish types. Am I concerned about the berry types? Well, actually for second week, you probably want to focus even more on fire type Pokemon anyway, because of the +3 main skill level. And then you get to use an Entei whose skill would benefit you more if you have multiple different fire types on the team. So even berries aren't as important to re-roll in the second week. So I think everybody's going to do pretty well in the second week, even ignoring the Ultra 4 boost at the start of the week. Alright, now for the second part of this video, we're going to look at the skill of Entei. Now this is going to be interesting. First of all, you have to be very careful about how you use this calculator. At first, it may look like Entei has more skill triggers than Raikou. Let's take a quick look at Entei's stats. So we now know its skill trigger rate is about 2.3%. So every time it produces something, there is a 2.3% trigger chance of its skill. It is higher than that of Raikou, so at first glance, it might seem like, yep, it makes sense, Entei triggers more. But the problem is Raikou has more chances to trigger with a faster speed of 35 minutes every production at base, whereas Entei is a bit slower at 40 minutes. So the combination of those two actually works out to be about the same in the skill triggers per day. But if you look at the calculator and go to Pokedex and sort your Pokemon by expected skill count, and I've filtered here for only skill specialists including fire types and electric types, well, it would look like that Entei triggers a lot more at 3.5 times per day than Raikou at 2.2 times. The problem is you have to check your settings in the calculator to see whether event bonuses are on. So the current default will be 1.5 times the trigger rate of fire type Pokemon. So you're getting an unfair advantage for Entei, which does get accounted for in the Pokedex section. So now if we set everything to just base, so their base stats, you can see that Entei actually triggers just about the same amount as Raikou, maybe a little bit more, 0.1 more per day. So if you're seeing a huge difference between Entei and Raikou, it's because the event bonuses are on and applied to Entei, which for the purposes of this event is actually going to be useful. We're expecting a level 30 Entei with neutral skills and nature to have about 3.5 triggers per day if you don't sleep. Of course, if you do sleep, which means I have to change this now to 8:30, so 8.5 hours, then the trigger amounts drop down to about 2.6 per day. So now that we have the event bonuses applied, which will also apply to team analysis in the calculator, let's have a look at what ingredients, how many ingredients, all of that added together on a team with Entei. But before I complicate things, let's have a look at 3 common Pokemon to use during this event: Typhlosion, Charizard, and Ninetales. Ideally, your Typhlosion has level 30 herbs so that you can cover for herbs in curries. If you have gingers, then you're going to have trouble cooking curry, so maybe you'll need to look for a dessert or a salad dish to cook instead. Ideally, you have sausages for Charizard. Again, if you have gingers, then you're going to be short on sausages, so curry may be more difficult for you to make, so you might again want to look for alternatives. Ideally, you want to have corn at level 30 for Ninetales. A number of dishes you can't make in all 3 dish types if you don't have corn. So I'm going to assume that you guys have this sort of ideal build first. Well then, to start with, as we've discussed before, your Typhlosion with the event bonus will cover just under the amount needed in order to cook 1 keema corn curry. 22 herbs, you need 27. Charizard has no problems at all covering for all 3 meals per day in sausage needs for keema corn curry, especially if we add in helper boost in a moment. Ninetales can cover just above 1 keema corn curry per day, so you might need to supplement both herbs and corn. Thankfully, with herbs, we can actually add in a mono herb Arcanine who will do 23 herbs, so that covers for almost a second, not quite, but almost a second dish for keema corn curry. But Arcanine's skill itself, I've got it set to level 2 skill only because I don't think anyone in their right mind will actually invest main skill seeds in an Arcanine given it's such a rare resource. But it is technically level 3 because of the skill level up. With the technical level 3, the event boost, and also the skill trigger boost on Arcanine, you added an additional 3 herbs into its main herb count. So down here is where you see the amount of stuff you get from Extra Helpful S. So if you wanted to see the strength, you would actually need to add these numbers horizontally to see the power output from Extra Helpful S. Extra Helpful S is a horizontal addition. Don't add the part that says each 1.4253, that's for ingredient magnet from Charizard. But we're not looking at ingredient strength today, we are looking at ingredient amount to see if we can cover for the ingredients for the dishes. We get an extra 2 corn, which helps, but not quite enough for 2 keema corn curry from Ninetales alone. And we get an extra 2.5 herbs down here, so you get probably enough herbs for 2 keema corn curry in a day. Not enough corn for 2 keema corn curry in a day. And of course, we don't need to talk about Charizard. You're just going to overfarm sausages. They either become extra ingredients, or you bench your Charizard and have something else running, maybe like a Beware with more corn for you to cover those dishes. These numbers do improve in the second week if we customize the skill level and make it +3. And you can see all the numbers jump, but not a huge amount. Understandably, Arcanine's skill is relatively weak. Now, let's change our perspective and just run an Entei instead of an Arcanine. Now, Entei is at base level 1 skill, unless you've got skill level up. But with the event bonus applied, it gets +1 main skill level. It does get better if we add a 5th Fire-type member. But let's assume that you don't have a 5th Fire-type member, and let's see how Entei compares to that of Arcanine. If we just look at the herb output from Typhlosion, if you remember from before, that amount was actually 2.4. So Entei, with the event bonuses just like Arcanine, also without investing any main seeds except just to get the +1 skill level from the event, already overtakes Arcanine in the amount of extra helps it gives to all other Pokemon. Corn also more if you look at what it was before, now it's 2.75. But it gets even better if we now add a 5th Fire-type Pokemon. Let's say Flareon. We don't want to add Arcanine because the numbers down here will start to include both Arcanine and Entei, but you can run Arcanine. But we're going to put Flareon so that the numbers are comparable. So now we've got a 5th Fire-type Pokemon on the list. Look, you could run a Quilava instead, maybe a Charmeleon as a 5th Fire Pokemon. You'll have to do the numbers yourself to see whether it's worth it. But with the 5th one, these numbers go even higher. In fact, now Typhlosion on its own with a full team of fire Pokemon, it can actually cover exactly 27 herbs needed to make Inferno Corn Keema Curry, but only one of them. So you'll still need to substitute herbs somehow. So now if we change out the Flareon and put in Arcanine, who was doing herbs before as well, Arcanine on its own with helper boost from Entei, but now also with the helper boost from itself. I told you it was going to get complicated. So together it can farm 31 herbs in a day, which is a 2nd Keema Corn dish per day. So this is a fairly nice team to run if you have the right ingredients and if you've got enough pillows. These numbers assumes that you sleep just the one time in a day, because in team analysis, the way to add healing isn't actually via the settings like this. You can do this in production comparison, but you can't do this in team analysis. You'd actually need to run a healer. So for example, Ninetales' skill is actually being accounted for here, being evenly spread. Without Ninetales, the energy actually goes down. So these numbers are actually accurate if you've got level 50 on everything and it's neutral stats. Once again, everyone's situation is different. You just have to punch in these numbers yourself to see what kind of numbers that you're going to generate. Now, if we also add event bonus plus 3 main skill level, the numbers go up even more. But if we come back to Entei, so let's have a look at the oils and tomatoes that it farms. Entei with plus 3 main skill level in the Entei 2nd week event, it will farm in total 19 oils if we include helper boost and extra helpful S per day, 28 tomatoes. The ratio though isn't quite right for green grass salad because we actually need more oils than we need tomatoes. So even with some of the greatest stats and event bonus, we're short on oil. And don't forget, we're still short on potatoes as well. So I think that even in the 2nd week, curry is still the top dish to get. It's just less of a problem now with Entei's arrival to make salads. Of course, don't forget that there are favorite berries as well other than fire type berries, so you can swap out something that you don't need. So for example, if you do end up rolling salads or desserts, look, you might not need Charizard because that's just way too many sausages. Run something like a berry specialist that matches the favorite berry instead. But that's not the topic of this video. Hopefully this video has given you guys insight on Entei and its ingredient list. Oh, and we're giving away a Pokemon Go++. Shout out to Stop Alcatraz, who's the one sponsoring this giveaway. All you have to do is react to this bot post under giveaway. Click this confetti cannon button in order to enter. But for you to see the giveaways channel, you need to be a subscriber to either my YouTube or followed my Twitch and posting a screenshot of that in the subscriber proof chat in my Discord. Thank you for watching, guys.